we're off on a trip of a lifetime to Albania and Uzbekistan and lots of places that aren't in between. Today we are on a tour to Bethlehem and Jericho. They are on the West Bank, which conjures up all types of emotions. Let me say something right from the start. The current situation is just not right. I don't know what is right, and I don't know how to solve the problem. I don't know whether it will ever be solved. But I just know that the current situation leaves a tremendous number of inhabitants on the West Bank in a very difficult position. The West Bank is divided into 3 zones, one of which is controlled by Israel, one is controlled by the Palestinian National Authority, and the 3rd zone has a shared control. This arrangement was supposed to be just temporary, but it dates back to 1993 and has never been readdressed. This is a vlog and I can't get into politics. I wouldn't know where to start if I did, so I'm just going to park that for other far more learned people to comment on. There are almost 3 million Palestinians on the West Bank. Bethlehem is our first stop. Welcome to Square Bucks, Stars and Bucks Cafe.
Do you love Bethlehem?
The Jews call it Bethlehem, which is the house of bread, and I apologise for that pronunciation, by the way, if I've got it slightly wrong. House of bread in Hebrew, and the Arab pronunciation is slightly different, but they refer to it as the house of meat. I like both bread and meat, so I shall call it a meat sandwich. We have a Palestinian guide join us as soon as we cross over into the West Bank. Jews are not allowed into this area except under extremely limited conditions, one of which is as a tour guide or as a tour bus driver. And so we have 2 guides, although the Jewish one makes it very clear that he is just a passenger for our time in Bethlehem. Both the Palestinian guide and the Jewish guide get on very well. I found the Holy Grail. Our Palestinian guide is a Palestinian Christian. The proportion of Christians in Bethlehem has considerably dropped over the years, but there are still around 20% that claim to be Christian. Jerusalem, 8.57 kilometres. Not 8.5. 8.57. Our first stop is the Chapel of the Shepherd's Field. Now, I'm not going to lie, I have a certain scepticism that this biblical event happened in exactly this spot here, or that biblical event happened in exactly that spot there, because many of these spots were identified a few centuries after the events. But, as a person of faith, I do believe the events took place, and I do acknowledge that being in these spots and remembering the biblical events that they commemorate, it's really special. This is one of those sites for me. I felt the emotions rise in me as I stood on the spot that, according to tradition, is where the shepherds were told by angels of Christ's birth. Now, I grew up singing that Christmas carol, while shepherds watch their flocks by night, all seated on the ground, the angel of the Lord came down and glory shone around. Yep, I know, pretty bad, out of practice. But it was a carol I associate with my dad, who was into carols big time, and I got pretty emotional. Our Palestinian guide asked if anyone wished to say the Lord's Prayer as a way for praying for peace in Palestine, Israel, and the world. A Spanish lady said it in Spanish, and I volunteered to say it in English.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
In those days there were shepherds in this region living in the fields and keeping the night watch over their flock. We moved on to the Church of the Nativity, which is the traditional place that marks the spot where Jesus was born. It is the oldest site continuously used as a place of Christian worship in the world, and is the oldest major church in the Holy Land. There is a very long queue to go down into the grotto underneath the church, and the actual spot is marked with a star. Again, as a person of faith, this is an emotional place to be. I noted that our group is following a very large group from the Ukraine, and that's pretty special for them too. Unfortunately, we are told that we cannot go to Jericho today. There is a special operation going on undertaken by the Israeli Defence Force, and they have closed the checkpoint into Jericho, and so the guide takes us to Qumran instead. This is a place we'd been to a couple of days ago, but really just for lunch. This time we enter into the site properly and visit the ruins from 2,000 years ago, believed to be the Essenes sect who jealously guarded the religious scrolls they meticulously copied and adhered to. With the approaching Roman armies sweeping through the country, eliminating all resistance to their authority, it is believed this sect hid their scrolls in pots and hid them in many caves in this area, where they were hidden until 1947.
Apparently 33 degrees here at the moment.
These are 2,000-year-old religious texts that show very little difference has occurred in the Old Testament texts in all that time. In other words, the Old Testament that we read today is substantially the same to the scripts that they were writing 2,000 years ago.
We can see cave number 5 and cave number 6 among the 11 caves. Most of the caves were built on the slopes, the south slopes of the complex of the farm, and
Today has been a big day, but a really good day. One of those days that I will remember for the rest of my life. Please like and subscribe.
Bye.